Does the bicycle law in Arizona apply to you? And where do you ride legally in Arizona on the roadway if you're on a bicycle? This is part of a series of videos on Arizona bicycle law. It comes from a Traffic Skills 101 class, The Science of Street Cycling, that the Coalition offers. And it's sponsored by the League of American Bicyclists and the Coalition, and this slide presentation was put together by the help of many people. So, does bicycle law in Arizona apply to you on your bicycle? And where do you legally ride on the roadway in Arizona? Let's review that traffic law applies to bicycles on the roadway. A policeman can pull you over and give you a ticket, give you a fine, give you points on your license even, and you could get an insurance increase. So let's avoid that. 28.8.112, applicability of traffic laws to bicycle riders. So does the law apply to you? A person riding a bicycle on a roadway or on a shoulder adjoining a roadway is granted all of the rights and is subject to all of the duties applicable to the driver of a vehicle. So that's saying if you're on a roadway and you're on your bicycle, that you must follow all the rules, but you also have all the right to be there as the driver of a vehicle. Now, this is not defining a bicycle as a vehicle. This is simply stating that you have all the same rights and responsibilities as a vehicle. We covered in the previous video that a bicycle is defined as a human-propelled device with wheels more than 16 inches diameter. So check out that video for more details. So if you are on a bicycle and you're on a roadway, you are subject to all the rights and all the responsibilities as a driver of a vehicle. So you should be stopping at stop signs and stoplights and signaling to change lanes, etc. 28-814 says that you should not cling to a vehicle. If you're on a bicycle, a coaster, a sled, toy vehicle, or roller skates, you shall not attach it to a vehicle on a roadway. So you can't catch a ride. If you've watched the Tour de France and you've seen those racers holding onto their coach's car, just coasting, getting a ride while they got advice or some other information, you'll know that that is not allowed on the Arizona roadways. 28-815 defines on where to ride your bicycle. So here's the answer of where should I be riding? By law, it says a person riding a bicycle on a roadway at less than the normal speed of traffic at the time and place and under the conditions then existing shall ride as close as practicable to the right-hand curb or edge of the roadway. Now, let's break that down a little bit. At less than the normal speed of traffic. So if you're on a road that's going 15 miles per hour through a school zone, you're going to most likely be riding 15 miles an hour if you're in decent shape and have a good bicycle. So if you're going 15 miles an hour in that, you don't even have to ride to the right. And if the traffic's at 25 miles an hour and you are able to ride 25 miles an hour, then you're like any other vehicle on the roadway and you don't have to ride to the right as far as practical. If you're going downhill in a curvy road and you can go faster than traffic, same idea. However, if you are going at a less than normal speed, then you should ride as close as practicable to the right-hand side. What does that mean? Well, you notice it doesn't say possible. It says practicable. So if you're riding your bicycle as close as practicable, the League of American Bicyclists recommends you ride 2 to 3 feet from the rideable edge of the roadway. That doesn't mean the curb if there's a gutter there with an edge of asphalt and then that concrete gutter. That means rideable edge is that end of the asphalt. So 2 to 3 feet over should be where you're riding. That's as close as practical. That way you have somewhere to go. If someone pulls too close to you and you're right on the edge, there's nowhere for you to go. If you have that 2 to 3 feet, then at least you have a little wiggle room. Otherwise, you're going to hit the curb. Now, the reasons not to have to follow that there's 5 exceptions. The first one is if you're overtaking and passing another bicycle or vehicle proceeding in the same direction, obviously you need to pass them, so you need to pull out, and you're going to not be as close as practical to the right-hand side. Number 2 is if you're preparing for a left turn at an intersection or into a private road or driveway. So if you're going to make that left turn, you don't want to be making the left turn from the right-hand side of the road. So you pull out, signal, pull out, and go across to the left side of the road or to the left lane if there's more than one to make that left turn. The third reason that you want to not have to be as far to the right as practical is if you're going to avoid something, including fixed or moving objects, parked or moving vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians, animals, or surface hazards. So if there's something in your way that you need to get around, obviously you can pull out to do so. In the picture below, you see a bunch of traffic containers that are all over the bike lane, and so you're going to pull out to go get around those. The fourth reason is if the lane in which you're operating your bicycle is too narrow for a bicycle and a vehicle to travel safely side by side. Now, many places there's very wide lanes or there's a bicycle lane, so it's no problem to stay as far to the right as practicable. However, there's a lot of places that the lanes get narrow and there is not enough space to share the road with both a bicycle and a car. What do we mean? Well, if you look in this diagram, we have that letter A is that 2.5 feet from the rideable edge. Then B is the width of the bicyclist. C is that 3 feet for the 3-foot rule we'll cover in another video. That D is the width of the car, and there we are at 14 feet. If your lane you're in is not at least 14 feet wide, then it's not wide enough to share safely and following all of the rules. So that's when you want to move out slightly and take over the lane, as you would call it, to be a signal to the motorists coming up from behind that they need to pull over into that other lane, at least partly into it, to get past you and still obey the 3-foot rule for passing. That's called overtaking. So this is the section of the law that says that if the lane is too narrow to share safely, that a bicycle can take that lane and doesn't have to ride as far to the right as is practicable. And the 5th reason is if you're on the part of the path or roadway set aside for the exclusive use of bicycles, then you don't have to necessarily ride as far to the right as practicable. If you're in a bike lane, that's usually 4 feet wide. If you're in the middle of it, you're probably 2 feet away from the curb anyway, so no problems. If you're on a roadway, you shouldn't ride more than 2 abreast with bicycles unless it's set aside. So that's bike paths that are wide enough, and then the other reason it might be set aside, if you're doing an event like the El Tour de Tucson, El Tour de Phoenix, then you'll have a whole lane barricaded to traffic and it'll just be bicycles. Then you can ride as many people abreast as is safe to do so, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, what depends on the bicyclist and how comfortable they are riding. So that would be an exception to riding as far to the right as is practicable. Now, in the picture below, you might see the 3 bicyclists, and 2 of them are in the bike lane, kind of, and the other one's in the road. Are they riding legally? Well, if the third one that's out is passing, sure. But if they're riding 3 abreast, then they really are not riding legally. This one, 28-816, carrying article on a bicycle. If you're riding your bicycle, obviously you want to be able to be safe. You want to have one hand on the handlebar and be able to brake, obviously. So here it says you shall not carry a package, bundle, or article while operating a bicycle if the package, bundle, or article prevents the driver from keeping at least one hand on the handlebars. Can you ride hands-free? Well, according to this, you have to keep at least one hand on the handlebars. And obviously you want to be able to pull your brakes. So this is the second video of the series that we're doing on Arizona bicycle law. My name's Kathy Mills. I'm a legal cycling instructor and I'm a member of the Coalition of Arizona Bicyclists. If you have any questions, give me a call or contact the coalition at casbike.org and watch for other videos in the series or look below for a link to those other videos.